Fake eyelashes, banned. Shaving waivers, 12 months or you're out. This isn't just policy changes, y'all. This is a generational war between Gen Z and what they like to call boomers over what the American military should be. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it looks like one side just won. There are two completely different ideas of what the military should be in 2025 and beyond. One side is the inclusive military, and this is where people believe the military should reflect modern America. So if young people are having mental health struggles, the military should accommodate them. If they want to express themselves through appearance, the military should evolve. If they're not really traditionally fit, the military should adapt to their standards. Basically, the military should be welcoming to anyone who wants to serve. And then you have the other side who believe that the military should be an elite force. They believe the military exists solely to win wars, period. And standards exist for a reason. If society is getting soft, then the military should be the place where you come to become hard. They believe that the military shouldn't adapt to weaknesses. Instead, they should eliminate them. And frankly, not everyone deserves to serve. I've been in since 2006, so I've seen both sides. I've seen the inclusive side. I've seen the elite force side. I got some pros and cons about both of them. For the inclusive side, I really liked the fact that they were changing things, letting women get ponytails. They never let the guys get beards. I was kind of sad about that, but I like that stuff. But I also believe that on the elite side, that standards exist for a reason. And for the past few years, that inclusive side was being heavily emphasized inside the military. But 2024, 2025, that changed everything because recruiting finally improved and the military leaders got to see what that inclusive military, what it actually produced. And they decided that they ain't like what they found. So to understand what's happening now, you got to see how COVID-19 didn't just hit the military, but how it transformed all of America. So COVID had a huge impact. Remote work became a normal accommodation and gave flexibility across every institution, even the military. Mental health became a mainstream conversation. Anxiety and depression were no longer stigmatized anymore. And the idea that institutions should adapt to people rather than the people adapting to institutions became dominant. This cultural shift hit the military too, right when they were dealing with their own COVID crisis. Because of COVID, fitness tests were being suspended. People didn't have to do PT for a little while. Training was disrupted. Recruiting moved online. They weren't even seeing their applicants face to face anymore. Everything was through like Zoom. The military was basically looking around at corporate America and saw how they were doing things and said, why can't we? Society was saying, meet people where they are. And so the military was like, you know what? We're going to try that out. So they created a bunch of inclusive military policies. The appearance standards became a little bit more relaxed. There was more lenient grooming. There was more cosmetics allowed. The Air Force started letting people get tattoos behind their ear. It was weird. The Army created a future soldier prep course in 2022, and it was designed to help recruits who did not meet their standards, whether it be physically, whether it be not passing the ASVAB. They even loosened up on their medical and mental health issues, allowing more accommodations for people to serve. The logic of it all seemed sound at the time. If the rest of America was becoming more accommodating and flexible, maybe the military should too. And this helped more people qualify ever than before, and we met the generation where they are. But the military kind of had to do this because they were having a hard time meeting goal. During that COVID-19 time, nobody wanted to join, and the people who did want to join were not really that qualified. So this was kind of an effect of COVID happening and the military trying to continue to put people into the military. But there was a problem that nobody wanted to talk about. And here's where the military's COVID-19 response kind of collided with reality. By 2024, about 24% of the Army's recruits came through that future soldier prep course, meaning 1 in 4 people needed some type of remedial training before they could even start going to basic training, whether it had been getting in shape or whether it be passing the ASVAB. But while corporate America could afford to be more flexible by accommodating remote work, mental health days, relaxed dress codes, the military discovered something crucial. It's not a corporation, it's a fighting force. So when Google accommodates different work styles, the worst that can happen is maybe some lower productivity. But when the military starts accommodating lower standards, people can die. And then you have people starting to point out all the disconnect. Medical and grooming waivers were stacking up. Everybody started getting beards. When I joined the Air Force, the only people who had a shaving waiver were pretty much black people because of a condition called pseudophilitis barbae, basically where your ingrown hairs curl back into your skin. And this is very prevalent in black men. But then, like in 2019, 2020, out of nowhere, I started seeing everybody have a beard. I'm talking everybody getting on shaving waivers. It just kind of loosened up and started allowing pretty much everybody to get them. Kind of ruined it. Then you start seeing physical fitness standards dropping and people still having a hard time trying to pass them. And then ultimately deployability rates suffered as these accommodations became more permanent rather than temporary. So then you gotta start asking yourself, what happens when societal accommodation culture meets an institution that exists solely to win wars? America adopted this meet people where they are mentality, but at the adversaries like China and Russia, they weren't doing this. They were maintaining or even raising their standards while America was kind of widening theirs. And that's when these leaders said, you know what, I'm fed up, we've had enough. By the end of 2024, the military leaders began making hard decisions. The Army, the Air Force, the Marines, Space Force, the Coast Guard, they all said we had enough. The Army introduced this new PT test called the ACFT, the Army Combat Fitness Test. Supposedly it's really hard. They also said that nobody can have indefinite shaving waivers anymore. You got to get off the shaving waiver within 12 months or they're going to put you out of the military. They got rid of eyelashes, those big long eyelashes that the girls were having, they can't have them anymore. You saw this happen in the Army, then all of a sudden the Air Force is like, yeah, we're doing it too. The Air Force did the same stuff. And now no one across the DOD can have a beard longer than 12 months. This is not just the Army anymore. This is the entire DOD. The Air Force is going to be implementing harder PT standards in basic training. They're cracking down on dress and appearance and holding people accountable, making sure that they look good in their uniform. They even limited the nail polish to clear, French, or American manicure styles only. That's it. A lot of people are pissed off about it. And then in March 2025, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered a full review of grooming, fitness, and readiness standards across the entire DOD. And this message was pretty clear that the inclusive experiment had gone too far. But here's what this really means for America and the military. I don't think this is just a military policy. I believe it's a cultural signal about the two different sides and the two different philosophies. That inclusive side pushed for changes because of real challenges that COVID-19 caused. And then the other side, the elite side, argues that readiness and lethality are non-negotiable. And that in this current great power competition, these qualities aren't optional. So in my mind, I feel like both sides have valid points. The inclusive approach helps thousands of people join who probably would never have been able to join. But now because of that, we're having people who are having a hard time staying in. I think that they may have gone a little bit too far with the standards, but whatever side you're on, their verdict is in. That elite force side, they won. At least in policy, because that inclusion side, they just lost all their ground. The rules are going to be tighter. The waivers are shrinking. The standards are rising again. And I know that there's a lot of people who wanted to serve who may not join anymore because of the standards rising again. Is it perfect? No. Will there be some fallout? Absolutely. But right now, that battle has been lost, and it's going to be more to come in 2006 as the military starts moving forward. I'm really curious to know where you all stand in this. Do you feel like the military should prioritize the inclusion, or do you feel like, nah, the military is a military and the standard should always be at the highest level, even if it means excluding more Americans from the service? I want to see what you all think in the comments. But if you want to see more about how these standards are going to affect the Air Force and make the Air Force harder than it's ever been, I got a video on the screen right now breaking all that down. But like I always say, I hope this video brought value to you. Stay beautiful, stay classy, and until next time, check me out.